So here we have 1/4 of a cup. And remember, our goal is to make a third of a cup by only using this 1/4 of a cup. So we've got to think about a couple different things. Now, first I'm going to talk about the fractions 1/4 and 1/3. Now, you'll notice that these are two very different fractions because we have different denominators. Here we have a 4 and here we have a 3, but we have the same numerator. That tells me then that the fraction with the smaller denominator, which is 1/3, must be the bigger fraction because they have the same numerator, and 1/3, because it has fewer pieces, the pieces are bigger. So we know that 1/3 is bigger than 1/4. That tells me that if I fill up this 1/4 completely, I'm still not going to be at 1/3. Now, one way that we can kind of connect these two fractions and make them a little more closely related is we can find a common denominator. Now, remember when we find a common denominator, we can make a chart and we could say 4 and 3. And remember, we're looking for a common multiple. So 4, 8, 12, 3, 6, 9, 12. So my common denominator is going to be 12 there. So I am going to make each denominator here into 12. Now, when we do that, remember that we got to think, what would we multiply to get to 12? So 4 times 3, we're going to do the same thing to the top. So 1/4 is the same as 3/12. 3 times 4 is 12. And 1/3 is the same as 4/12. Now, here's the interesting part. If I were to take 1/4 cup, so this cup right here, and I would completely fill it up to the top rim, to the very top, that would be the same as 3/12. But we don't need 3/12. We need a third, which is the same as 4/12. So basically what we need is we need 3/12 plus another 12. Another way to say that would be to say that we need 3/12, which is the same as 1/4. So we need 1/4 plus another 12. So if I were to fill this completely up, I have 3/12. I need one more 12 to get myself to 1/3. Now here's the cool part. If we know that this whole thing, this whole fourth here, is 3/12, then we know that we can split it up into 12ths. So we could say if this, let me use a different color here, if this top portion represents a total of 3/12, then there must be some point here where we have 2/12 and 1/12. Now, if I was able to find that spot where 1/12 was, I could add it to my 3/12, and that would give me my 4/12 total, which remember 4/12 is the same as 1/3. Now, what I can actually do here is I can fill it up completely once, which would give me 3/12, and then I can fill it a third of the way, because a third of the way is going to be one more 12, which is going to give me a total of 4/12. And 4/12 would give me a third. So if you take a fourth cup and you completely fill it up, and then you only fill it up a third of the way, that's the same as making 1/3. And I'm going to show you what this looks like next.
All right, so it turns out I have 1/4 of a cup, and I actually do have 1/3 of a cup that I found. I want to show you how you can actually use 1/4 of a cup to make 1/3. So remember, 1/4 is smaller than 1/3. If we make common denominators, remember that 1/4 is the same as 3/12, and 1/3 is the same as 4/12. Now, that means that 1/4 is 1/12 less than 1/3. That means if I take a fourth and then add another 12th, we can get to a third. Now watch how we can make this work. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill up a fourth, and I'm gonna fill it to the very top. Now if I fill up a fourth to the very top and pour it into a third is not completely full. That's because a fourth is only 3/12, but this needs 4/12 to make a third. Now, that means we need one more 12th. Now, here's the cool part. Because this fourth was 3/12, we know that if we only fill it up a third of the way, about a third of the way, that would be one more 12th. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill it up a third more of the way, which would get me that extra 12th, which is gonna be 3/12, which was the whole thing, plus a third of it would be one more 12th. That would give me 4/12, which is the same as 1/3. So this is kind of approximate. It's not gonna be perfect, but I'm gonna fill it up about a third of the way, which I did. So I'm now gonna pour this inside here, and it's almost completely full. It's almost completely right at the top, which is 1/3. So to make a third, we took a fourth of a cup, which was 3/12, and then we split a fourth into 3 parts, and we only went up a third of the way to get our last 12th. We poured it in. That gives us 1/3 or 4/12.